In March 2010, a mysterious pulsating light floated over Cleveland, Ohio for 11 consecutive nights.
We're having a sighting right now over the lake. I'm gonna say 270 degrees south. There are two objects. One is coming up from the left. These are extremely close to each other. There's absolutely no way these are planes. Right now, what's happening is the initial object that came out, it's sitting there, it's hovering, it's getting extremely bright, it's illuminating different colors, and this second object appeared from, I'm gonna say, the top left of it, and now it's looks like it's moving around it. Wow, they completely just switched spots. Oh my God, this is beautiful. It knows we're watching, it knows we're watching.
The Cleveland sighting is one of thousands reported each year. And while many are proved to be false alarms, others are not so easily discredited.
Right below it. Big bright white flash just occurred.
In 1991, Britain's Ministry of Defense assigned author and journalist Nick Pope to track the hundreds of sightings reported over England, Scotland, and Wales every year.
The Ministry of Defense has been looking at the UFO issue since the 1950s, and the whole reason for looking at these UFO sightings is not necessarily because the department corporately believes in extraterrestrial visitation. It's more to do with keeping a watchful eye on any unusual activity in British airspace. Clearly, if there's something there that's a little bit out of the ordinary, we want to know about it. My beliefs when I was given this job were, I think, what on earth have I let myself in for here? I had no particular knowledge or interest in the UFO phenomenon, certainly no belief in anything unusual. But the more I looked back through the archive of old files, and the more I began to investigate the ones that were being reported to me on a daily basis, I began to change my mind and realize that some of these UFO sightings couldn't be explained in conventional terms.
It's definitely moving.
Many of the most intriguing cases Pope researched involved eyewitness reports from pilots, police, and military officers, while others featured classified radar, video, or photographic evidence.
One case that was a particular turning point for me was the so-called Cosford incident. Now, Cosford is a military base in the United Kingdom, and on the particular night in question, which was 30th of March 1993, there was a wave of sightings over a period of about 6 hours, and there were many police and military witnesses, and two Air Force bases, Cosford and Shawbury, were directly overflown by a vast triangular-shaped craft. Now, the meteorological officer at one of these bases described this to me as the size of a jumbo jet, hovering or moving very, very slowly, and then accelerating away to the horizon at incredible speed. He said many times faster than a military jet. And this was a man with 8 years' experience in the Air Force.
This sighting was thoroughly investigated, not only by private UFO investigators, but also by the British government, who were unable to explain all of the sightings reported during this incident.
Another intriguing British UFO sighting took place in December 1980. U.S. Air Force personnel stationed in Suffolk, England, reported seeing a brilliantly illuminated spaceship that landed in Rendlesham Forest on 2 consecutive nights.
It's coming this way. It's definitely coming this way. It should be shooting off. This is weird.
What made this case particularly unusual is that this was not vague lights in the sky. This was a landed metallic craft that some of the witnesses claimed they got so close to they could actually touch the side of it. One witness saw strange symbols on the hull, which he likened to Egyptian hieroglyphs. He made a sketch of this in his police notebook and took some photos, though he was subsequently told they didn't come out. The Ministry of Defense looked at this And the Defense Intelligence staff assessed radiation readings that had been taken at the landing site as being significantly higher than background. And that's a direct quote from the government's own assessment.
The British government generated a massive file of information about this sighting report. But at this date, it's very unlikely that the actual truth about this sighting will ever be known.
Baltimore, Maryland, November 9th, 2018. Thousands gather at the Baltimore Convention Center for AlienCon, a 3-day event dedicated to exploring the possibility that life not only exists on other planets, but that intelligent beings have been visiting the Earth for thousands of years.
I would like to ask this audience at this AlienCon, how many of you have had missing time, an abduction experience, have encountered perhaps an entity in your room, or you have seen some kind of lights, craft that have left you with a feeling that you were seeing or experiencing something that was not human and fits into this category? How many?
Wow, that is an impressive show of hands. That's staggering.
The large numbers of allegedly abducted people in the audience stuns the panel. Equally impressive is the credibility of the stories.
Let me just say I'm a very logical person. He looked at me, he tipped his head down and he looked up. At that moment, his eyes went black, his nose started to turn almost beak-like, and I couldn't break the gaze.
I've had beings walk through the wall. I'm Rh negative, green-eyed. I do have some missing time.
We wake up and we're not in our bedroom anymore. We're laying on tables.
They pulled me up on the ship. They did surgery on me.
I had no idea of what they were doing. And I later found may have been extracting sperm.
But if alien abductions are really happening, what is their purpose? Are extraterrestrials simply examining the human species? Or is there another, even more profound agenda?
The reptilian who visits me on a regular basis. Apparently he realized I was infertile and he backed away.
As I began to do more and more deep research, eventually you come out at another layer. What are we? What are Homo sapiens sapien really? And then you get to my perspective today. The harvest of genetic material from this planet. And so one of our greatest questions is who walks around on our planet, looks human, but is not?
Could human abductions be part of a greater effort by extraterrestrials to hybridize the human species with alien DNA? Many ancient astronaut theorists insist that such an audacious notion is not only likely, but that evidence of it can be documented by means of regression therapy. Barbara Lamb has conducted nearly 2,000 regressions on people who believe they have been abducted by extraterrestrial beings. Most recently, she has been studying the case of California native Robert Fullington, who has, under hypnosis, revealed details of his numerous encounters with extraterrestrials over the course of the past 10 years.
I came to know hybrid 7 years ago, and since then, I've been conducting long interviews and have been doing regressions with them. And out of all that material, I have become convinced that they are indeed ET human hybrids living here on Earth.
I was 215 pounds, and I went down to 115 pounds. And doctors had no idea what was going on with me. I was starting to have experience with ETs. It's things like going to sleep and then becoming aware that something's happening. It's these little tiny blips of real clear ET interactions, and I have no idea what's going on.
A wonderful thing is that our subconscious part of our minds records everything that happens to us, even those things that we have not been consciously aware of.
On June 6th, 2019, Barbara conducted another regression session with Robert.
Okay, nice and comfortable now.
In an effort to find out not only why he had been abducted, but also the specific way in which he might have been genetically altered.
So now we're going to go into a nice state of deep relaxation. More and more deep, more and more relaxed.
People are laying in lines, and they're working on people. Like, I'm last in line to be worked on.
Now, are these people in line, are they lying down? Or
Yeah, it's like a bunch of tables in a row. I feel like there's something inserting into my stomach. They're extracting something. It's like they're collecting DNA from different people.
In the regression, it turned out that one extraterrestrial actually made an incision and took out DNA. Now that is something that has come across through my work. Some of them seem to be very scientific, and they want to understand how human bodies work and what our physiology is like. In many of the regressions I have done, it turns out that the ETs are creating hybrids for their own purposes.
Stephenville, Texas. On the cloudless evening of January 8, 2008, more than a dozen people, including a police officer and a private pilot, spot a luminous spherical object floating silently across the sky.
It was very intense, bright light, and they spanned a wide area.
It was so fast when it took off, and it made not a sound.
Radar reports released by the FAA confirm an object without a transponder exactly where ground observers see the UFO.
The January 8, 2008 encounter of a giant UFO over Stephenville, Texas is particularly interesting. A number of people saw this giant glowing ball of light moving through the sky. It was picked up on the radar.
According to reports, for 2 hours, the UFO slowly moved some 70 miles across the Texas countryside. Military aircraft are in the air nearby. But curiously, radar records show that they initially made no overt action towards the unidentified object.
The first government report said that this was not anything except for some bizarre optical phenomena such as a reflection of light in the sky. But when you see people who have radar tracings, ground-based eyewitness reports, that's not a reflection. There's something going on here. Stephenville, Texas certainly implies that UFOs are a commonplace occurrence in America and the military stays out of the way.
In the United States, there are over 6,000 UFO sightings reported every year, more than any other country in the world. But why? Is there an explanation for such a high number of UFO sightings? Could aliens have a special interest in America? According to ancient astronaut theorists, not only are aliens watching over North America today, but in fact, they have been visiting us for hundreds and possibly even thousands of years. And they claim the evidence can be found in the strange sites, structures, and monuments that lie in every corner of the continent.
America is really a very mysterious place with all kinds of strange legends. So trying to put all of these things together in context shows us that we're living in a very unusual continent full of magic and mystery.
Serpent Mound in Adams County, Ohio, the Kivas at Chaco Canyon, New Mexico, Bighorn Medicine Wheel in Wyoming. Many Native American tribes say that at these ancient sites and countless others, entities that they call star beings came down from the sky to teach their ancestors.
To the Zuni people and other tribes, there's a spiritual connection with star beings. They're the ones that actually rule the universe or the world that we're on. If you look at the petroglyphs, there's a lot of references to those type of entities.
According to tribes like the Zuni and Hopi, stories of these otherworldly visitations exist not only in the oral traditions passed down from their ancestors, but also in petroglyphs carved into rock all across America. On the Zuni Pueblo in New Mexico, there are literally thousands of ancient carvings that most outsiders have never laid eyes on. And the Zuni claim that some of these petroglyphs depict visitations from star beings. The Apache Sitgraves National Forest, Arizona. November 5th, 1975. 22-year-old forestry worker Travis Walton is driving home after sundown with a group of co-workers when suddenly a strange light appears in the sky.
I noticed some little glimmers of light coming through the trees, and the light seemed to be coming from higher than where ground level would be. It was only when we got to where this light was crossing the road that we had an unobstructed view of the craft. It was a clearly visible, clearly defined metallic object, a disc hovering there, outlined against the sky. I threw open the door, thinking I'd get a closer look before it took off. As I got closer to it, the sound it was making, it was a sound you both heard and felt. And the crew said they could feel the vibration in the truck. They said it seemed like something was about to happen. And it was. That's when this energy hit me. The crew said that it was like I'd stepped on a landmine, like an explosion so violent that they thought it had killed me. When this beam of energy hit me, I felt like a physical blow, but with a sort of a tingling, sort of an electric shock sort of feeling at the same time. I don't know whether I came to soon after I was taken aboard, but I knew I was on some kind of an elevated gurney or operating table. I was looking straight into the face of this creature, and I just flipped out.
He sees these grey extraterrestrials around him, and he panics, and he begins to struggle very violently. And so those grey extraterrestrials leave that room, and then shortly afterwards, you have two human-looking extraterrestrials walking in.
In the case of these human-looking ones, I started to have serious misgivings that this was a rescue. And that's when they put this mask over my face, and I just blacked out real quickly.
Now, the suspicion here was that actually these weren't different aliens. These were the same aliens, but they were capable of shape-shifting into something else, specifically to calm him down.
Travis Walton's story has become one of the most famous alien abduction cases ever reported. But if true, was he abducted by beings that are able to shapeshift and mimic humans? While Travis Walton's account is extraordinary, it is not entirely unique.
There are many stories of these abductees who see these non-human looking extraterrestrials, these greys, who then are replaced by beings that look human. And this seems to be extraterrestrials using this shape-shifting ability to make it look as though human extraterrestrials are there.
In 2013, public policy polling released data that showed 12 million Americans believe that shape-shifting beings live amongst us.
One of the most intriguing conspiracies today is that of the shape-shifting aliens. The idea that perhaps there is a class of entities on our world today that is able to represent itself as humans at will. These extraterrestrials that are hidden from the rest of the normal human society around them.
There is a theory that there are aliens among us, aliens in human form. That there's an advance guard, a fifth column, call it what you like, but the idea that perhaps as a prelude to a full-scale alien invasion, they infiltrate, they get their people into positions of power, and one could be walking right past you and you wouldn't know. People think of disclosure as being the archetypal landing on the White House lawn, spaceships in the sky. What if it's actually not that? What if aliens are already here?